Snowy Smeeks again with another gardening video. In this video, I am attempting to learn something myself. So what we're looking to do here is take a look at the conditions piece of the info menu, whatever you want to call this thing. So the bottom half, light, water, ground temperature overall. I want to see what effect these have on output and or growth speed. So I've got a low yield crop and a high yield crop. Low yield being the berries, which typically put out a maximum of 5. And that's with a lot of Y's in the genetics. And then hemp typically puts out a lot more. Like a bad hemp plant probably still puts out over 30. A good one, really good one, puts out 70 something as far as the yield count. So that's the goal here, and what we've got is 8 different conditions to deal with. We have too much water on all 4 of these, but these 2 have heat, these 2 do not. All of the front ones have compost, the back ones do not. So what we have is warm, uncomposted, not warm, or wait, both of these are warm, both of these are too much water, one has compost. Both of these are not warm, one has compost, one doesn't, too much water. You get where I'm going with this. Over here we have perfect water conditions, which is, I want to say it's 70, it's definitely under 7,500, 72, 74, all the way down to probably about 4K, 4,500. So those will give us good water conditions, and it's basically the same thing. Fertilizer in the front one, none in the back. Heat, no heat. So I'm going to go ahead and try and plant these. Let's see, are these getting good temp? Good temperature's 86. What if I plant out here? Wow, this one's just not going to give me good temp. All right, whatever. And over here, we got no temperature difference, so this one just doesn't matter. Throw these down. And right here, like you can see it, temperature's not very good, but the ground on this one's great. Over here, going with these ones. I'm again a little confused with the temperature being so radically different. But whatever. Let's see, temperature 86. All right, getting rid of that one. There we go. And then over here, these shouldn't matter very much. Once again. All right, so we got our hemp planted and looking pretty happy. Let's plant the berries. But I think I'm gonna put a little bit of a time gap in here just so we can look at one at a time. All right, it's not a very big gap, but hopefully it'll make a difference. All right, that's happy temperature. That is happy temperature. All right. As I pointed out, these shouldn't matter because we're not looking for temperature. And then over here, let's just try that. Happy, happy. Water, water, yeah. All right. So the temperature is actually starting. Now this one, look at that. Ooh, pretty. Let's see, is this one? Almost. This one's not quite temperature happy for some reason. I'm not going to worry too much. 90+% is pretty good. Although I guess we could try and get... Hey, there's one that's perfectly happy. Alright. Yep, that's what we're looking for. And then these ones, you'll notice again, it's the ground that's messing it up. This is just hateful over here. They really don't like That one's 97. It's also my last one. So it looks like we're keeping this one. All right. There's the experiment. Compost temperature, too much water, not enough water. Or wait, not enough water. If you run out of water, as far as I know, they just stop growing. They don't actually die, or if they do, it takes a very long time. It's one way you can extend the grow time is if you can figure out a way to stop the water, like have it run out of water on you at the right time. In any case, here is our experiment. We'll come back in a bit and see how they're doing. Checking up on progress. So the hemp, you already noticed, gave me a little bit of trouble finding hemp that was happy with the heat. So some of these are planted out of order. But for the most part, the berries were planted at the same time. Now, you also notice these are not perfect genetics. I'm doing this on Tog, which is the other gamers build server. I'd use Builder Sanctuary. Builder Sanctuary has fantastic tools for messing with gardening and crops and stuff. The problem is this video already takes a long time to make because you have to sit here and watch plants grow. And one issue with the Builder Sanctuary servers is while they are unbelievably amazing, they're also not very stable. So yeah, you can imagine how frustrating it would get watching your plants grow only to watch them suddenly lose, the last 15 or 30 minutes or whatever of growth to a server crash. So that's why we're on Tog. Now, it looks like, for the most part, we aren't seeing a very big difference. Now, again, some of these were planted at different times. But as far as the grow time goes, I've only noticed one significant difference. And I kind of want to go back and rewatch the video. But did I not plant these two at the same time? So I'm kind of wondering if you've got this condition of actual 100% happy plants, if they don't actually just take off kind of like rockets. Sapling 45, sapling 90. That's fairly significant growth speed increased. I'm impressed. That is for two plants with identical genetics, especially the 2Y2G. That's about a 25% increase. I mean, it's real rough, but impressive. And again, that makes me wonder if I planted them further apart. But that's the only real difference I've seen is over here on the world's most perfect and happy planter box, apparently. So in any case, we'll be back again. So back for a checkup. I took a look. In the top column, you can see the age, 34 minutes. So all of these are planted within roughly a minute or two of each other. There's not that much difference on the time. And so if we look at the maturity level, 17, 23, 23, 17. So this is between 17 and 23 is probably only a single game tick of growth time. That doesn't surprise me if they're off a little bit there. That happens all the time in my experience where there's a little bit of drift. Mature 912 over here. So similar times, similar maturity levels on everything until you get to the happy box. Maturity levels are at least a few ticks further out than everything else with the same time frame. And this one isn't quite perfect, but this one is. And look at this thing. It's off like a rocket. 47%. And the next best is 25? What's this one at? Yeah, next best is 25. So I wouldn't call it gigantic out of control. Wahoo, this is amazing, but That's a good few game ticks out, and each game tick, they're not very fast. Once a minute, maybe, or at least the game growth ticks, whatever you want to call it. These things are not fast. So, yeah, a handful of ticks faster. I cannot wait to see what these look like when they ripen. I'm really curious to see if we can squeeze out another berry. That would be the really killer part. You could get one more berry or pumpkin or a handful more hemp. That's the part where compost and heat and water levels would all come together to make it potentially really handy to do it that way. And honestly, I tend to small scale farm anyway, so I just use water jugs. You can just take a water jug, dump it on the thing, and it'll evenly distribute. So if you went over here and poured it, these would each get 2,500. But hilariously, with the wall here, you could pour it and it would still divide by 4. I've even seen it to where you could pour here and the one above it would also get half. Yeah, it's a little weird with water splashing in this game. So yeah, like I said, I kind of just prefer not bothering with the sprinkler system, but the other side of that is they are very handy. My recommendation, if you're small scale farming, is you put your sprinklers on timers. That way you can start them, run them for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. But the problem I've always had is if you leave the sprinkler on, if you leave your sprinkler on, you come back to an empty water system because most of us are doing water farming without a river nearby. You know, it's water catchers or whatever. In any case, check back in a minute. "47 minutes. Ooh, 90%. 58%. 35%. 35 versus 64. Yeah, this really does look like conditions don't seem to matter very much until you get into the real deep butter zone. 93, 66 versus 37 and 60. Yeah, I mean, it's not, still not gigantic on the grow speed, but it's definitely there. All right. So here we are at the 1 hour mark, and our super good crazy crop is at 45% fruiting. These ones are still only mature. And yep, this one's almost about to hit fruiting, which is still, looks like the berries are really liking this. The hemp, for whatever reason, we couldn't get perfect temperature on, which is probably why. But that's kind of crazy. I'm impressed the thing is hitting fruiting in an hour with only 2 Gs. That's kind of crazy. And it's not just hitting it in an hour, it's 45% done with fruiting in an hour with only 2 Gs. 2 Gs I would expect at the hour mark to maybe have hit fruiting finally. So, yeah. Well, here we are. Almost done with the fruiting phase, which is ripe as next. And this is 4 berries. I doubt we're going to see 5 berries. But the way the math works out, normally, if you have no Ys or only 1 Y, you only get 2 berries or 2 pumpkins off the low yield crops. 2 Ys bumps that up to 3. 4 Ys bumps it up to 4. So this is a little interesting because we've got a 3Y plant popping out 4 berries. And then what do we got here? The hemp is going to really show us a lot because it's so much more granular. Like I said, a 4Y hemp, I think that puts out 70 cloth. So this one, you should see a much more granular difference in the cloth yield. But it's also, unfortunately, I mean, it's still definitely noticeable. This thing is 37% fruiting versus 75% mature. But I'm a little concerned just because I couldn't figure out what the happy temperature for hemp was. You might have to put your heaters, I don't know, somehow further away, but the right distance to get them happy, because they definitely didn't like it being right in front of the heater. All right, so here we are at ripe. Hour and 13 minutes to go from planted to full ripe. 4 berries per plant in a planter with perfect water, ground, or as in compost, temperature, and light. Now I'm real curious to see if these ones reach the same level. See, fruiting 26. And maybe this is going to pop out 4. I don't know. I'm wondering if the 4th berry came from just the fact that we're growing it in a planter or if it was the compost, all of it. And take another look, although I suspect, yeah. Fruiting. Wait, what? There we go. See, this is a little bit. So these are mature. And these are mature. Oh, that's interesting. So the heat is making a difference as well. So the back farthest away ones don't have compost. So these are mature. Actually, that doesn't matter. These are both mature, right? 96. Fruiting 30. And I'm skipping this one because we know that one's advanced of everybody else. Mature 96, but with the heat, fruiting. So yeah, here you go. I'm kind of cold on the map. I picked a little bit of a frosty spot because down here by the river where I originally started, it was perfect temperature for everything. It was obnoxious. There was no point in having a heater down there. So having heat, at least in cold areas, is making a noticeable difference as well. Much more so than the overwater, underwater part of the scenario. Yeah. Interesting. All right. I will be back again. All right. Here we are again. 126 with near perfect conditions for the hemp. And we are at 55 cloth. And where are we at? Still not there. Wow, this hasn't even started fruiting. And this one's ripe. What? That's kind of impressive. Let's see. Fruiting 32, fruiting 7. So these ones are at least on the move. Why is this one so bad? What is going? Oh, that's right. This one has heat, but not compost. So yeah, I think we're just seeing that double effect there. Whereas this one has compost and heat. It's just overwatered. That doesn't seem to be making nearly the difference. This one has no compost, but it has heat. Still 10% isn't that much. Yeah, okay, they're pretty close then. And then over here, these ones are quite a ways behind. Yeah, a little bit behind, a little bit behind. Still getting there. But yeah, so right now it's 4 berries, which have the low yield. It's picky. I might have to run this experiment with a perfect genetic 2G 4Y berry or pumpkin would probably be the test to do this one on. And honestly, the hemp would be the same, because those extra Ys give you, you know, that extra ability to generate more. So that might be the way to push it over, or maybe just no Ys, just all Gs and see what you get. I don't know, but continuing the experiment. So we've got one thing I noticed now that I'm looking around. Others are starting to come in ripe. If you look at the bottom of the top section where it says red berry yield, 4.15. Now this one's almost done, but one over here is ripe. Ripe 0, 4.04. So I kind of now wonder if that's really going to be the kicker. If you had the extra Ys, it'll flip to another berry when you get to 0.51. That's when you get an extra berry. Every 0.51, so 1.51, whatever. So I'm a little curious. Maybe that's the number you're looking for. If two more Ys, or maybe it would only take one more Y, or you know, instead of an even number of Ys giving you an extra berry, maybe you might run into an odd number. Maybe a 3G 3Y would be a good way to go if you've got perfect conditions. Interesting, because it's giving 4 berries as well, and this one, 4 berries. None of these damn things are ready yet. 4 berries, 4 berries. But yeah, 404 versus 415. 404, 404. That's got to be related right there. Perfect conditions is actually meaning that this thing got, I guess, riper. Now I'm curious exactly what 1Y would add to that point, or 4.15 or whatever. I'm curious now. That's interesting. All right, so the berries did not kick out an extra, but we learned something about the yield and perfect conditions versus slightly less perfect conditions versus a different set of slightly less perfect conditions. These ones are still chugging along agonizingly slowly. So you could definitely see where heat is making a big difference. Granted, we're in the cold, so the ground is not great. Wait, this one, oh wait, sorry, the ground is not great. The temperature is not great. It's on the cool side. But you can see where it's definitely having an effect. The cold half of the building is slow. But the rest of this, 23%, 60%, 33. Yeah, now we're just waiting for the hemp to come in so we can compare cloth yields. See, now I'm confused. 56 versus 55. What? But this one's so happy and perfect. 56, 92%, 90. Could it really literally be the 1% difference in temperature that's led this one to produce a single cloth more than the other one? Interesting. We're getting there on some of the others, but my suspicion is that this one is gonna be, well, this one will probably be the same. And these ones, oh, we got some ripe. 395, 395. Oh, that's a little bit intriguing because these are 404. Yeah, the yields on these are both 4.04, and the yields on these two are 3.95. So 3.95, 3.95. So this is all temperature based on the yield, because the Warmer ones have a higher yield, but the perfect, yeah, interesting. So the heat is affecting the yield at least a bit. That really is a little bit intriguing. The temperature being happiest increases your yield the best, it looks like. Although these ones are a little bit lower. It's not much lower. That's interesting. This is going to be a fascinating video. I hope I don't have to remake this damn thing because I am falling asleep while watching plants grow, basically, and podcasts. All right, well, we only have a little bit more to work on here. Basically waiting for these hemp plants to finish up so we can make that comparison. And this one. Other stuff getting ripe finally. 55. This one's interesting because it's a temperature of 94. I don't know what the hell. 100, 94. Just boom. So light plus water? Oh, wait, did this thing's temperature just fluctuate? Now it's at 92, whatever. In any case, this one tied, they both tied for cloth yield. That one has one more. This one has the same. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's got to be temperature that's driving the yield. The yield numbers are higher. These ones are still not ripe. On all of the warm plants, the yield numbers are higher. And I mean, maybe that'll change when these things finally ripen on the hemp side, but I'm guessing that temperature is driving yield. Grow time is probably, because notice, oh wait, no, these are ripe, these are ripe, these are ripe, these are ripe. Temperature is affecting yield and grow time. I mean, the happiest plant did the best. It took off like lightning. So I have to go with the fact that light, water, ground, temperature all play a role. But I'm just trying to puzzle out. Like this one has no fertilizer and they took slower. Right? That's the one change between this one and this one is just fertilizer. And so fertilizer is obviously increasing growth speed. However, yield, that's a tiny bit better here. So maybe fertilizer's playing a little bit of a role there. The water levels are the same. And then if we go over here, where we definitely have too much water, we have the same berry yield, right? It's the same yield. 4.4, 4.4, yep. So it's temperature affecting yield. Maybe the compost is affecting it slightly, but notice it's not here. Man, this is hard to actually pin down. Hard to pin down what the individual driving factors are. Because like here's another one. These are both 3.95 yield. One has compost, one doesn't. And they're also basically at the same clock time. That 2 hours, 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 minutes, ripe 6, or 6%. Yeah, that's like these are identical in every way. But one has compost and one doesn't. 2 hours, 3 minutes, 2 hours, 3 minutes, a little bit more ripe, but otherwise the exact 3.95, 3.95. What does compost even do? I'm so confused. Nothing, apparently, at all. Except again, this one. Just the rocket ship. So much faster than everything else. I am not sure what conclusions to draw from this. Other than it really does look like if you can make a plant happy across the board, it grows faster, and in the case of the berries appears to be a tiny bit higher yield, not enough to make a difference with these genetics though. With the hemp, it was just faster. That was it. It's actually got a tiny bit less yield than the overwatered plant right next door. So that's so strange because mostly like this would make some sense, but then you go over here and these plants just don't seem to give a shit at all whether or not they're composted or whether or not they've got perfect or imperfect water levels. That's just bizarre. They don't care at all. Huh. I'm still going to wait for the hemp, but... Alright. Back with final conclusions. 49% or 49.31 cloth. 49.31, 49.31, 49.31. Yeah, I'm not surprised. So, heat is giving us 5-6 cloth, but just by having the temperature up. It's the one difference between these all is temperature. Grow speed is also related to temperature. The half with the heat grew faster. So heat is responsible for both growth speed and plant yield. I don't know what the fuck compost does. Like I said, I don't get it. The compost appears to do nothing at all except possibly increase your growth speed if you've got 100% in all the rest of the temperatures or the conditions. Like if you've got good light, good water, good temperature, adding compost will make it grow faster. But if you don't have good light, all the rest, witness, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a couple more experiments we could run here, but this is ridiculous. It really does mostly just come down to temperature. I mean, the growth speed's nice, don't get me wrong, but you get most of your growth speed out of temperature. The biggest plant difference was this one. This one did come in second. It was faster. But these two that were at the most perfect conditions, basically a tiny bit higher yield on the berry, actually a tiny bit less yield on the hemp, but that might be temperature again. Yeah, this one just grew a bit faster, is really what it came down to, with a tiny bit higher yield. Now, if you could dial in enough more yield to push that thing up to one more berry, that would be golden. That would be really good if you could do that. And like I was saying, a 3G, 3Y red berry or berry might, under perfect conditions, actually be the plant you want, because I could see that one more Y might push that from a yield of 4.15 to 4.51 or more. That doesn't seem too unreasonable. Yeah, for the most part though, I am going to say if you don't plan on carefully monitoring your water levels and You would rather sell your horse manure for scrap it, band it slowly. Yeah, that seems like the best thing to do with it for the most part. I mean, if you've got a horse, you've already got excess compost anyway, so do what you want with it. But the best thing I can tell you about this is perfect conditions lead to a faster growing and possibly slightly higher yield plant than imperfect conditions, so long as the temperature's good. Temperature really does seem to make a big difference in both crop yield and grow time. And that's apparently it. This could have been more helpful, I would have thought, but whatever. We tried.